So I like to browse Amazon from time to time to see if they have any good deals on e-bikes. So I came across the Amyet V9 G60 and it looked like a really compelling bike for the price. And I ended up paying about $875 from Amazon with shipping and tax. And it's listed on Amyet's own website for about $830 plus free shipping, plus I don't think they charge tax. So if you do want to buy this bike, I'll leave the links below, and if you use the code AMPCYCLE on Amyet's website, you'll get $10 off and you'll help support the channel. Anyways, like I was saying, the G60 looked like a great value e-bike for the money, and it had hundreds of good reviews. So I did make an unboxing video if you guys want to go check that out when you're done watching this video, and I'll leave that in the description. So with the V9 G60, you get mag wheels, not spoked like on most e-bikes. You also get 20x4-inch fat tires and a pretty powerful 1000-watt hub motor that peaks at about 1300 watts, and that is paired to a 48-volt, 20-amp-hour battery. Honestly, that's not a bad value for the money so far. I mean, I paid over $1,000 for my Ridstar Q20, which has been one of my favorite e-bikes and one of the best value e-bikes in my opinion, and the Q20 didn't even come with mag wheels. Amyet also comes with more comfortable rear suspension than the Ridstar, and it even comes with rear foot pegs for carrying a passenger. And it might be tricky to carry a passenger though, because this is a small frame for an e-bike. So unless you have a really small passenger and you're kind of small yourself, this might be a one-person bike. I know for me it is. So I was pleasantly surprised with the build quality of the G60. I mean, for just over $800, you get a bike with good paint, good welds, and it feels really sturdy and robust. Now it is a no frills bike. There's not some fancy metallic paint with decals and all this stuff, but honestly, who cares? For this price, all the money goes into the good specs. With all that being said, there definitely has to be some compromises for a bike of this price, and the Amyet is no exception. One of these compromises is its cable brakes, and cable brakes certainly are not my favorite on a bike that can do over 30 miles an hour. Now in their defense, I've had worse hydraulic brakes on bikes before. These are actually very good for cable brakes, and I've never had an issue with them or felt unsafe, but it does come with the drawbacks that cable brakes have, having to do adjustments and maintenance on them, and you get an inconsistent feel in the lever as they heat up especially. And with this bike, I also had an issue with the speedometer not working. I believe it was some sort of loose connection because it started to work again after I took it off-road and it kind of got shaken around. And I ended up just making sure the connection to the motor and the controller was all good, and I haven't had that issue since. I also did email Amyet support, and they got back to me very quickly and they were very helpful. Experience on the V9 G60. This thing feels really lightweight and just really tossable. You can see it's just, I'm throwing this thing around like nothing. This short wheelbase on this really makes it feel peppy and like it wants to handle. So the riding position on the V9 G60 is actually really comfortable thanks to the BMX style handlebars here. You have a upright, comfortable position here. And the seat that you're on, I chose brown in this case, but you can also get black. But this seat is actually fairly comfortable too. I think for longer rides, it's gonna be better than a regular bike saddle. And your controls are all laid out really nice here. You have your headlight switch, you have your turn signals here, you have a horn. You can't see this display very well in the sunlight. Even without sunglasses, I can't see this display very well. So on pedal assist 0, you have no assist and you have to completely pedal by yourself. On pedal assist 1, you're gonna be going a very brisk 6 miles an hour. On pedal assist 2, you max out around 11. Pedal assist 3 gets you to about 16. Pedal assist 4 gets you to 21. Pedal assist 5 is gonna get you to your top speed. And speaking of top speed on this bike, they claim about a 30 to 32 mile an hour top speed. I haven't found that to be true. I've really been only getting about 28 miles an hour on my GPS confirmed. And I have gone through and messed with the settings in here, but I just can't seem to get that 32 mile an hour top speed out of this thing, but it's not a big deal. 28 is still plenty fine to be riding around at. So overall, the grips and everything in the riding position is really comfortable, and I do like this screen. It gives you a lot of information, and it's just a cool looking screen. A lot of e-bike screens are kind of boring, and this one switches it up a little bit. And for the price, you know, around $800, I've seen worse e-bike screens on bikes that are like double this. So this 1000-watt motor on this and just the overall riding experience is really smooth on this bike. The motor's fairly quiet and the power's pretty linear. It kind of eases you into it, and this thing gets going. It's pretty peppy for what this bike is. It is a hub motor, so you can't expect to be doing wheelies on this thing, but for what this is, it's pretty darn good. Now if we take this over here on the off-road and just kind of test it out on here, and we are going uphill here, but once we build some momentum, we can really get going up this hill. We're going like 17. I'm gonna slow down over these rocks, but This is a decent bike for going off-road like this. This can easily handle grass and light packed dirt, and you can even go uphill like I'm doing right now on this thing. This is like pebbles here. This is pretty big rock and it handles it fine, especially with these knobby 20 by 4 inch tires. And if you want to go off the beaten path on this bike, you can. And again, that price of only just over 800 bucks, like you're getting a really good value for this bike, I think. Oh yeah, we're putting those cable brakes to work on the grass there. So speaking of cable brakes, these brakes are about as good as you can get for cable brakes. I've honestly ridden bikes with hydraulic brakes that have worse brakes than this. So the brakes are definitely a place where they cut costs on this bike, but in reality, you can definitely get by on these brakes. Of course, you can upgrade them if you'd like. Hydraulic brakes are probably gonna run you like, 50 to 100 bucks for a decent set. It's not bad for cable brakes. Now, the suspension on this bike is actually pretty good, especially for a budget-focused bike. You can hear my voice is shaking a little bit because we are going on some pretty rough off-road stuff. You're not uncomfortable. If you were on a hardtail bike, this would be hurting. I'm just amazed at the value that this bike gives you. I know it sounds like I'm gushing over this bike and everything, and you might be like, oh, Amyet's giving him money to say that, but I've bought all my Amyet bikes that I've gotten so far on this channel out of my pocket. I've bought them with my own money. I've given Amyet a lot of money, and I have really nothing but good things to say about their bikes. I love how you can see how many watts you're pulling on this display. It doesn't really matter, but it is cool to see that you're pulling like 1300 watts. So since this is a pretty small frame bike, I think that taller riders might be a little cramped on here. I'm 5'9", and I fit pretty much perfectly on this thing. They do give you rear foot pegs that you can carry a passenger on here, but to be honest, in order for me to carry a passenger on here, I really would not be comfortable on this. I'm just way too far forward, and I'm sitting where a back passenger would sit on the seat anyways. So I think if you're a taller rider, this bike might actually be a little bit too small for you. Like if you're 6 foot, you might have to go to something a little bit bigger. If you're under 6 foot, I think you should fit on this thing no problem. It is a little bit tall too, so if you're under maybe like 5'5", you might have a little bit of trouble flat footing this thing. Like I'm 5'9". Yeah, I can just barely flat foot this thing when I'm at a complete standstill. It's going to be a little bit easier to store, and it's not going to take up as much room in your garage or your apartment or whatever. And this bike does have a weight limit of 330 pounds. And it also weighs 77 pounds without the battery. Also, pedaling on this bike is not going to be a great experience. Again, I'm 5'9", and it's awkward for me. So if you're any taller, it's going to be even more awkward. And this just is not a good position for you to be pedaling in. Just the geometry of your legs this is not a bike that's set up for pedaling. And typically, if a bike looks like a motorcycle, it's not going to be a great bike to pedal. This thing does come with a 7-speed Shimano shifter here. And honestly, after like 15 miles an hour, I kind of run out of pedal on this bike. Like right now, I'm just ghost pedaling, and we're barely at like 18. To further my point that this bike is not a great pedaling bike, there you go. The pedals on this thing are kind of just there to, I guess, not look as suspicious and kind of keep the cops from questioning you, I guess. Range on the G60, like any other e-bike, is going to depend on riding conditions, your weights, the temperature, what you ate for breakfast. Like there's a lot of different factors that go into battery range, but typically on a 20 amp hour battery, I can get about 25 to 30 miles of range, just throttle only on this thing. So you really should have no worries about range since this is a 20 amp hour battery. It's a pretty big battery. Obviously, if you pedal more too, you're gonna get a lot more range. And if you're just pedaling solely and you're not using any power, then you're gonna get even more range. But if you're helping this motor out, your range is gonna definitely increase. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of top speed run here. I'm gonna go 0 to 20, and we're gonna start now. And I'm full throttle. That's 12, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20. The speedometer on this is pretty accurate. You can see the GPS is matching up pretty much the same. Acceleration on this bike, not bad. So overall, I really think this bike is an amazing option if you're looking for a moped style e-bike to commute around the city or to get around town. I mean, this thing can legitimately replace your car if you're not gonna go buy a bunch of stuff. You know, you can ride around town, keep some miles off of your car on this thing, and it's really not that expensive. You can also go out and have some fun on it like I use these, and it's just an awesome bike for the money, for around 800, 850 bucks. I talk about the Ridstar Q20 a lot, and this thing really does give it a run for the money. I mean, really the only compromise you're making on this bike is the cable brakes. And again, you can swap those out for like $80 to $100. So in reality, you know, you're not losing much from the Ridstar Q20, and you're getting this bike for like $200, $250 cheaper. G60 has a better display, it has better suspension, it has mag wheels on it. I really don't think that you can go wrong with this bike, and it really does give the Ridstar a run for its money. I like the brakes on the Ridstar better, and I like how the Ridstar looks and its design overall, but I mean this, you know, for $250 less, even if you do put hydraulic brakes on this thing, you're still gonna be ahead. You know, I've put about 50 miles on this bike so far, and I've loved every minute of it. This has just been an awesome bike, and I think if you do pick this thing up, you're really gonna like it a lot. So the G60 is a great option for a good value e-bike with surprisingly little compromises. It really does give the Q20 a run for its money, and for over $200 less, it comes with more features and better rear suspension. The cable brakes are a fairly easy fix if you're handy. You can swap them out with a set of hydraulic brakes that you can buy online for a decent price. Overall, I can 100% recommend the V9 G60. It hurts to say this because I love the Ridstar Q20 so much, but I think it's an even better value than the Ridstar. Now look, I'd still buy the Ridstar if I had the money, but if I were tight on cash and I wanted one of the cheapest moped style e-bikes that you could get, the G60 would be my choice for sure. So with all that being said, if you do want to pick up the V9 G60, I will leave the link in the description in the pinned comment where you can get free shipping on the bike plus $10 off with my code AMPCYCLE. I want to thank you guys for watching, and if you do want to check out some other videos on bikes, I have a bunch of other videos on this channel. I'll leave some of my favorites linked in the description. With that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.